Alright, hey, what is up, Yu-Gi-Oh players? Michael Games here today with a deck profile of a Burning Abyss Dark World Archfiend Dark XYZ, rank 4 XYZ spam deck by the Yugi tuber Yugi No. As you can see right here, this is his deck, Yugi No. So, we're going to get right on into it. You have 2 Summoner Monk, 1 Dark Grapher for filling up your graveyard, 2 Armageddon Knight for filling up your graveyard, 3 Stygian Street Patrol for getting back those, for getting out those fiend monsters and just going and summoning, 3 Trance Archfiend, 2 Beige Vanguard Dark World, 2 Archfiend Harris, 1 Tour Guide, and 1 Skarm. Now, when he profiled this was for the January 1st format. So obviously, like, Tour Guide was at 2, so he had more access to more rank 3 stuff. So you have a little bit less limited access to those rank 3s, as the fact that Tour Guide is going down to 1. But I did find a way to kind of bring it back a little bit and kind of bring in, like, I changed stuff around a little bit to make more rank 3s into those Levier plays. So you got 3 Upstart Goblin for draw power, just because you don't really need many things in this deck. You just kind of need to get into stuff you need to get into, and Upstart Goblin does that, and it pretty much makes it a 37 card deck. 2 Rhoda pretty much makes it 35 cards if you have valid targets to search out. Because it can search out your Grapher and search out your Armageddon Knight. 3, I upped the Instant Fusion to 3, just because I feel like it's more consistent to get into Instant Fusion at 3. Considering the fact you can make, rank 3s, or you can make Darkfire Dragon. I just upped it to 3 so that you have more variabilities when you need to use it, and when you could set it as a bluff or just pitch it for Summoner Monk. Like if it's left over and it's dead, you just pitch it. 2 Inferno Reckless Summon. This is basically one of your main combos, and I'll go through like the main combo and kind of explain it. So Foolish Burial, because you need to fill up your graveyard. Soul Charge to really make pushes. Mind Control is honestly it's honestly pretty good in this deck. Normally I don't play Mind Control in decks, but I feel like the Mind Control in this deck is actually pretty good. 1 Falling Down. Falling Down is nice, but you can only use it on face-up cards, as to where with like Mind Control you can use on face-downs, which is pretty good. But Falling Down, you have a field spell that is an Archfiend card. You have Harris. You have Trance. So really, you do have a lot of things you can actually use Falling Down with. So that provides a lot of help when you want to actually take something and just beat things over with your opponent's shit. Allure Darkness. Everything's a dark, pretty much. Well, everything is a dark actually. So you can just get loads of search power. Archfiend Palabyrinth. All of your fiend type monsters have gained 500 attack, which really helps with your OTKs. 3 Forbidden Lance, because keeping your monsters alive is one of the key things in this deck. As I found out by playing it a little bit, I realized that Forbidden Lance was fantastic to have, and is honestly really good. Vanity's Emptiness. Vanity's Emptiness at 2 used to be a fantastic thing with this deck. Granted that I do want it gone, like permanently, which I do, but it's still very much a good card in this deck. Even though you special summon a lot, this can be sometimes one of your greatest helps. And 3 Archfiend's Roar. I upped this to 3 just because you do have Trance and you do have your Ares. You really can just do things with Trance, especially like if you have Inferno Reckless Summon. And as Yu-Gi-Oh No pointed out in his video, the deck profile, Archfiend's Roar is like your Call the Haunted. It is searchable via Harris. And it does get back Harris, which if she dies, you can just search out another one. You can use it on Trance Archfiend. So really, I just feel like upping this to 3 was, I don't know, it felt better than like Oasis of the Dragon. I just kind of felt like playing this more, just because it's more searchable. For the art extra, you've got Master Key Beetle, which you would use on Vanity to make the Master Key Beetle Vanity Lock, which pretty much just shuts down decks in general, and you pretty much kind of won once you got that out. Lavalval Chain to set up your graveyard. The Valid Chain is like your main go-to on your first turn because you really need to set up that graveyard. I know some people will probably play Lavalval Chain at 2, but honestly, that's just a waste because you're only going to really use it once for that one turn. Excitonite, blow shit up. It's pretty much mandatory. 101, steal shit. Dark Rebellion, Xyz Dragon, just to beat over things, like massive things. Castell, bounce really key targets. Cairnorgan, Anti-Luminescent Knight. Just if things want to target you, you know, just change to whatever the target is, like whatever target you want it to target. Evil Storm Nightmare. I actually found it rather interesting that he does play this card, but it's pretty much a Book of Moon that you can use twice in your opponent's turn. So like, let's say you go into your first turn play, if you can Xyz still at main phase 2, then you Xyz into Evil Storm Nightmare and sit on a Book of Moon with a 1950 defense. So I mean, this is kind of a hard card to kill. This is a very good main phase 2 go-to. And you know, I didn't really think much of this card except for the fact that I did look at it and it's really good. Gaga Cowboy, ends games, Papillary Operative. Yu-Gi-Oh! Nono quoted in his video that he was thinking it was either a toss-up between Papillary Operative or number 80 Rhapsody and Berserk. I personally do like the Papillary Operative better, so I main decked this when playing through it. So I just feel like that this overall was a much better card than number 80. Although number 80 Rhapsody and Berserk is really good when you're playing like certain matchups. It's just really good, and like against the shit-all matchups, you know, you want to get rid of your opponent's key cards that they need in their graveyard. You know, you can go ahead and do so. But aside from that, you know, there's not really much use for it nowadays, like in the meta. This card I just feel like always had better playability, considering, you know, if my opponent, you know, is playing like a hand or something, like is playing a deck with hands, like which I actually ran into pretty often. I just basically would make this, flip it, see what it was, and then just make plays according to what I've seen from Papillary Operative, which I felt like definitely was the right play to do in that situation. I know a lot of people would probably disagree with me on that, but I felt like that would be like the right thing to do. 2 Levier the Sea Dragons. These just get back your Stygians 2 patrols and do things, dirty things with them. Downward Magician. There was actually a thing that he did point out, is since the fact that Ares is an if effect, she won't get her effect off of a cost, such as like Levier the Sea Dragon's detach effect is a cost, as to her Downward Magician is not. So I mean, you know, once you use your Levier, you detach, you know, your tour guide or, you know, your Scarm, whichever monster it is you made it with it, and then just detach detach one that's not Ares, make this, do your play, main phase 2, go downward, and then, you know, if something happens to this, then you detach, and then you get Ares' effect off. Well, Ares' effect. So that's really good. And for the instant fusion materials, you have Flame Ghost and Dark Fire Dragon. Now, Yu-Gi No had a side deck, which pretty much, this is the one thing that I actually found is like the most important, and that was Forbidden. What the hell? Where is it? Forbidden Chalice. Just because, like, in the format that he played this in, Burning Abyss is running rampant, and people always had, Flying Sea, and Flying Sea massively hurts this deck. So you really need to side deck these. I would suggest, well, and I would have, in that format, would have played this at 3, just because that was like one of the best side deck cards that they actually had at the time, like against any deck that was all about Xyz summoning, before, you know, douchey Necros actually became a thing. So this is definitely one of the key cards that he pointed out. I didn't put the side deck because side decks always change per format, And I don't really know what would be a good side deck in this format for this deck if you guys were to play this deck in this new format right now. But yeah, so that is the deck profile by Yugi Nono. The original deck profile will be posted in the description of the video. So now on to the combos. So basically, you have a lot of spells for Summoner Monk. So if you open Summoner Monk and like a Trance Archfiend or a Stygian Street Patrol, you're pretty much set. I mean, you're pretty much like if you get like Summoner Monk, Street Patrol, Inferno Reckless Summon, and like another spell, doesn't matter what. You just basically pitch the spell that you don't want to have, so would not be Inferno Reckless Summon. You go and grab Grepher, pitch Stygian into the grave, then pitch another Stygian into the grave. Then I would do like, you would banish Street Patrol, summon Trance, Inferno Reckless, get 3, and you pretty much just go off the nuts with this deck. And there's a lot of ways the combos could be performed with this deck. There's way too many for me to be able to actually go like into full detail about, and actually like fully go into depth with. But that's just like one of the main startup combos you want to try to get, or like you want to get that play done first, but you're pretty much gonna go into Revival Chain, top deck like your Trance Arching if you don't have it, and then when your turn comes, you just go off and you go nuts. And if you have Tour Guide, you can Tour Guide into Leviair, do that Leviair thing with Stygian, and just really, really wreak havoc on your opponents. So this deck really, really sacks and pretty much OTKs quite a bit. That's one of the things that I loved about playing this deck most was the fact that it was just OTK after OTK after OTK when I did play around with it. So Yu-Gi-Oh! Nono, you have done a very good job with this deck. It is very original, very powerful, and I gotta say, I love it. So thank you guys for watching. Remember to rate, comment, subscribe, like, and I will see you guys later. Peace out.